philosophy, the degree to which it's been used to attack the president rather than make points about the particular nominee, the degree to which the limelight has been seized by senators with a total disregard and a total disrespect for what the Constitution intended when stating very clearly that the Senate is to advise and consent on traditional nominations, really makes one believe that it's necessary for some change to come about in that process, so as to ensure an end to the judicial activism which has plagued the judicial branch for the past 25 years. How you doing, Mr. Adler?
Good. Good. Keep going. I want to hear about the next topic.
I'm good. Well, I've got a lot of topics. I'm trying to jump around a little bit so I don't get too bored.
Anything on liberal leanings so that you can...
What?
Anything with liberal?
I can have 25 hours, and even in that amount of time, you won't hear anything liberal from me.
Fruit. Am I good?
I'm trying to... I've read a few, I was telling my dad that the basic format for today is it's being recorded onto a computer so that I prove that I spoke for 25 hours straight. And we've had channel 2 and 7.
2 and 7. And 4. We think 4.
4 came, but they were kind of shady about it, we think. She didn't talk to me, she just came up here and just kept talking. Oh yeah, but this is 25 hours out of tape. No one's even seeing this right now. We're putting it up online tomorrow. We're not streaming it live right now. It's okay. Within 25 hours, I'm leaving a little bit of room for some more casual stuff. But I started off on the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and we've been jumping around a little bit, and I want to find something that I can present for you, Mr. Adler, rather than just getting into a rhythm. Here's a good topic. Let's talk about Social Security. Really, it'd be reasonable if I were to start this topic with spending. And needless to say, the way that I'm jumping all over the place on these topics is only inviting the fact that I'm going to start overlapping. But I'd like to talk about Social Security for a little while, because reasonably this should have been let off with a discussion of spending. The way spending is completely out of control in this country. And while you can attack pork barrel spending, and I agree, pork barrel spending is out of control, it's a bribe, it's unconstitutional. At the same time, we need to recognize that pork barrel spending is not what's going to bankrupt this government. Or you come back sooner or later, then.
Sure.
You can go to the bathroom?
No, I'm back.
Okay. See you in a couple hours. While pork barrel spending is a huge problem, and I'm going to get back to Social Security later because I just love this topic so much, I might even do it twice, but just to describe it. The real issue here is not pork barrel spending. It's not going to be pork barrel spending which is going to bankrupt this government. It's going to be our spending on entitlements. We need to get our entitlements under control, and that's in regards to every major social service that our federal government employs. Now, if someone were to ask me, seeing as I believe he's betrayed his conservative base, if someone were to ask me, where did George Bush really first betray his conservative base? When was the point where it broke off and he said, that's it? He obviously is either not one of us or has lost his way. It was when he passed another example of these horrible entitlements, this boondoggle spending project, the Medicare Part D prescription drug plan. I mean, an absolutely enormous expenditure, which we will be straddled with for years to come. And I'd like to get to that in just a little bit, and I'd like to talk about spending law for just a little bit. But first I want to talk about Social Security. Because Social Security is broken. It's a huge problem. George Bush, when he was reelected, in his victory speech, called Social Security the third rail of American politics. And believe me, it is the third rail of American politics. If you even dare to mention Social Security, you are done. You will have more mobilization of some of those most vile of interest groups which I have mentioned You'll have more politicians across the United States seizing up your suggestions for political points for themselves. There's no way to get anything done, but the truth is that Social Security is a huge, huge, huge problem. When Social Security was originally created, it was never meant to perform the way it is now. When it was originally made, the age of retirement was in the 60s. The life expectancy back then was in the early 50s. There was no way that they were expecting for everyone to look at Social Security as basically their retirement fund. It was put in by FDR as a safety net for really old people who had lost a ways or a means of income after they had retired. Today, the system, luckily, is still afloat. Luckily, it's still afloat because we still have 16 workers paying into the retirement account for each retiree. While that exists, we're fine. And we're okay. And in theory, we're still okay. The problem is that every dollar that comes in to the Social Security trust fund, they call it the Social Security Trust Fund, is immediately taken out by Congress. And rather than putting that in the piggy bank and saying we're going to slowly pay out our benefits to our current retirees and keep collecting this money and start paying that out to other retirees in the future, Congress is immediately seizing that money, going and spending it on God knows what, and putting an IOU in that trust fund. If you look at the actual Social Security Trust Fund, it's a file cabinet. It's 3 cabinet drawers high, and it's a file cabinet of congressional IOUs. That's all the Social Security Trust Fund is, and that works because we have 16 people paying into the system for every one. The problem is, within the next 30 years, that number is going to start to wane and wane and wane. Before we know it, we're going to have 2 workers for every retiree. 2 workers for every retiree. That is nowhere close to the amount of money necessary. Especially not since, like I said before, Social Security has changed in its general use. It used to be a safety net. It used to be something that would complement another kind of retirement account. Now it is what people look to as their entire retirement account for the most part. That's starting to change, luckily, as people have realized that it doesn't exactly, it won't exactly be big enough to fulfill that purpose. But these congressional IOUs just aren't going to do the job. They're not going to do the job. And I'm going to be the first to say in this room, and I'll be the last to say, last man standing on the argument, even when everyone else is being convinced otherwise, that George Bush's plan for saving Social Security was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. The small piece of irony in George Bush's plan, and the small piece of irony in the Democrats' opposition to it, almost unanimous opposition, was Bill Clinton suggested very much the same plan when he was president. Very much the same plan. He really didn't go anywhere, didn't really make it anywhere, and Social Security was not seen to be as much of a problem. And again, it's always been the third rail of politics, so no one wanted to touch it. But the very Democrats who oppose it now used to be in favor of such a plan. Let me say before I delve into the specifics of George Bush's plan that his problem was that he did a horrible job of communicating it. He did a terrible job of making clear to the American people what he wanted to do. You ask the average American citizen, about 3 months into the public debate following George Bush's election, most citizens agreed there was a problem. George Bush had convinced Americans very vaguely that there was a problem. What he was not able to convince them of, was how real and definite that problem is, and exactly how to address it, because he just made his plan too confusing. But here was a more simple way that he could have employed or advertised his plan so that people would listen and people understood what he was doing. Give choice a chance. Give choice a chance. When I get my paycheck from the drug dealers, after crying about the $17 which the federal government has stolen from me, I tend to look at that Social Security box, and I see that that money's taken out and put into a congressional file cabinet IOUs spent by Congress immediately, and I don't even have a choice. I don't have a choice to invest it somewhere else. I don't have a choice to spend it now and save more for education later. The government is telling me I need to invest this money for retirement, which isn't as bad as the government telling me further. Not only do you have to invest this for your future, not only am I going to tell you what to do with your money in regards to your retirement, I'm going to tell you where to invest it. And you're going to invest it right in the United States Congress. And why in the world would Congress be so adamant that we invest that money into the Congressional Social Security Trust Fund? Because they want to spend it. Because that is discretionary income that they are free to spend while it's there. That's half the reason why Democrats are so scared about changing up the plan so that there's less money coming in through the federal trust fund for Social Security, because they want to be able to spend it. If we set up private accounts for each individual, private accounts, you'd still be required to save. There you go for social progressives who think we need to tell people how to spend their money. You'd still be forced to save. No one would be free from being forced to save for retirement. And anyone who wants to stay on the government program as it is free to do so. If you think that this plan is going to ruin benefits, if you think that this plan is going to cause irresponsible investing, if you think that this plan is wrong or evil or a vast right-wing conspiracy, as Hillary Clinton likes to call it, then fine. You don't have to go on the program. You can go right ahead and you can stay just as you are. You can watch as the amount of work that's paid for your retirement wanes and wanes and wanes until there's only 2 people paying for your retirement. And your retirement comes down to a couple $100 every couple of months. And anyone who's really comfortable with that Social Security system, I say, God love it. Go and take it. You can stick right with the Social Security plan as you are and as you have it. But we're going to give choice a chance. We can give choice a chance. We can say, here are a few other options. Because the federal government is notably unreliable in managing money, and because the market economy has always been notably desirable in cultivating money, we're going to give you an option. We're going to set up 5 private investment accounts. And people call this privatizing Social Security. This isn't privatizing Social Security. Believe me, I know. I'd love to privatize Social Security. If it was my choice, I'd privatize every aspect of Social Security. But it's not. 5 retirement accounts, still managed by the government, but money rather than invested in some trust fund, money which will be invested in the market economy. 5 different account options, each account a mutual fund of sorts, ranging from riskiest to the least risky. The most risky, of course, not even being that risky in the end. Well, I happen to believe that the private sector is, for one, much more dependable